usually do this stuff in CAD, but I just grabbed a piece of paper and drew it up real quick. So this is going to be a wood box. So you can see the triangle aspect of the top. I'm going to put the lid in at least 2 parts is what I'm thinking for the top. 8 feet wide, 2 feet deep. Sort of weird, but that's the boards I have to work with. That's why I'm doing that size. So these are the boards I have to work with. There's 8-foot decking boards underneath there. And then I have a bunch of 4-footers. I have these boards. There are a lot of fence boards, and then some 4x4s from that same fencing, and some decking boards. So I have a mixture of actual wood and then plastic decking. So the first step of this process is I have to clean up all of this. This is assembled better than the storage shed has been since I've been here. I'd rather have it leaning towards the house in a way. Alright, that's what I wanted to accomplish today. That is where the wood box is going to go. It will be 8 feet wide, 2 feet deep, and that's about what I'm figuring. Good idea or not, but I'm going to try a bit of a base with these concrete decorative stone things that I have, just so that it sits on that instead of just sitting on the ground. Needless to say, this process took a little bit, and it would have been a lot easier if I'd have just had a load of gravel, but I didn't, and I really didn't want to spend the money on it, so I ended up getting this to work, and I'm actually happy with the result in the end. Actually used a sledgehammer and busted up a lot of the stone paver things. I made basically like big gravel out of it. Here I'm going to make 2x4s out of the 4x4s that I got from the fence posts. Yeah, that's a nail. While I was cutting the boards, I popped a breaker. But then when I came back, it gave me an idea to flip the board end for end, and then the final cut went through a lot smoother. It helps to cut a lot if the saw is plugged in. I don't always pre-drill, but sometimes I really want to avoid having the board end split. When I have a bunch of boards to cut at the exact same length, there's a tip I've found is I'll use a clamp on the table and then clamp my saw onto the table as well to make sure it doesn't move, and then the part of the clamp that sticks up acts as my stop for the board, and as long as you don't slam the board into it, it stays right where you need it. The plastic decking I'm using is about 15 years old. The fence boards are at least 30. Ran into a little bit of an issue. I thought the boards were 5.5 like a normal deck board, but they're 5.25. This is my top board for the angle to attach to. I should have made this out of the green treated decking boards, but I didn't think about it at this point. I want to come across this, I got to come across that. I figured that out, but I still made this wrong and went to the board at the center instead of going across to the upper corner. I didn't even realize my mistake yet at this point. Yeah, after I got it together, I realized I didn't line up this correctly, this piece. To go on here, I went to the board, but the board, because it goes below it, that wasn't right. So what I did is I got another board that's longer, and I ran it to there and to there, and then I traced that line. I think I was getting hungry at this point because although I was trying to fit it, I wasn't realizing I was putting it backwards. I eventually figured it out. Might be funny, but I find I strip screws a lot less with an impact driver. This latticing was the railing at the end of the deck that I repaired for my parents, and I figured I had it, so I'm going to try to use it for this. I'm not sure it's going to work the best and might allow too much snow in winter, and if that's a problem, now I'm going to have to modify it in the future at some point. Here I got my son to help me. One of these days I might have to invest in one of those board holders that you can run past, or maybe I'll try to make one. I think I'd try to make one. Here I am trying to figure out how the hinges are going to work, and I finally realized I needed to go and eat because I wasn't problem solving anymore. I was just low blood sugar and couldn't think. Side, and then the board will go like this, and then when you raise it up, you obviously can't have the board stick too far past, but if you do it right, it will hold the lid up. I fit one just to see one board, and that's pretty good. That holds it. I wish I would have panned the camera. The garage door is 9 foot and this box is 8 foot wide, so it was close, but backing out, obviously it looks like it's the same width almost. Here I'm figuring out how I want the top to work. I wanted to overlap the board somehow, so I made a groove, almost like a tongue and groove type situation. And man, is it windy. I had them all upside down with so I can't put the backing board on the bottom because that's facing up, so I have to flip them over. The top of the boards kept wanting to separate, so I used a double clamp because I didn't have a single clamp long enough, and daisy chained them in essence. Little moment of panic here. My tops were too wide, but in actuality all it was I had to take the center or the last board of the left side, and I took that off and then I trimmed it down so it would be the same width, and then I had to cut a different overlap because every other one spacing was wrong. So figuring out that, in the end, it was fine. I was able to use the same board and just cut it down. I sort of forgot to hold the board when I went to put the first screw in.
The crossboard ended up being maybe a half an inch too long and it was hitting the side, so I just trimmed it off. I added a supporting board to the top of the center just to reinforce that a bit, and then I just laid these decking boards, these other decking boards that I had down for the floor. I kept those loose because I want to be able to pull them up easily if I need to get underneath it, clean out mouse houses and things like that. I am a little concerned that the lattice in back is going to allow snow to blow in and become an issue, and if that does, then I am going to wrap the back with some heavy plastic, and then next year I'll cover it up permanently. Bye-bye.